Hi friends, welcome to Krako's VRC video series. Every week we'll be bringing you 3 important tests for VRC, important questions that you must solve regularly so that you can ace VRC section. VRC section is one of those sections where consistent practice is extremely important. You see the gains after a few months. There is no immediate improvement in VRC. So in such cases, you have to put in efforts regularly for months on end before you see any improvement. With that thought in mind, what we have decided is that we will give you regular tests, 3 a week, which you can solve along with us. We'll also give you a PDF of the question so you can actually try attempting the set by yourself and then solve it along with us. So look at the PDF, download it, try to solve the RC or the VA questions, then see the video. Do this consistently. These are only 3 tests a week, so it is extremely doable. But do this consistently and slowly over time you will see yourself improving. So I hope to see you come in every single week and solve these 3 tests. If you need more VRC practice tests, just search for Kraku VRC sets and you will get a lot more tests like these. Keep solving, keep practicing and keep getting better. I hope to see all of you completely crack the VRC section in CAT 2026. Hi friends, welcome to Krako's video series. In this particular video, we'll be taking a look at a reading comprehension passage, which is slightly difficult to read. The passage is difficult to read, but the questions are not that difficult. So in such kind of paragraphs, this was, I think, one of those paragraphs of those RCs which was left by most students who attempted this particular slot. But I feel that if you take a look at the passage, it is definitely difficult to read. But then you take a look at the questions, you should not have skipped this RC. So let's take a look at the passage. We'll go carefully line by line, paragraph by paragraph, because it's a difficult RC as such. So let's take a look at the first paragraph. Understanding romantic aesthetics is not a simple undertaking for reasons that are internal to the nature of the subject. So understanding romantic aesthetics is difficult because of the very nature of the subject, how it is actually. That is why understanding or studying it is a difficult task as such. Distinguished scholars such as Arthur Lovejoy, Northrop Frye and Isaiah Berlin have remarked on the notorious challenges facing any attempt to define romanticism. So 3 people have actually written how difficult it is to even define romanticism. So he has quoted, okay, this guy has said it is even difficult to define romanticism. Lovejoy, for example, claimed that romanticism is the scandal of literary history and criticism. So he says, like, Lovejoy went to the extreme exaggeration by saying that this is like, it's not only difficult, it's a scandal, it's like controversy. Now, why does he call it a scandal or controversy? It's not that it is scandalous or controversial. He's saying that it is so difficult to define the subject that nobody can even agree on a definition. So that is why it's a scandal, because it is a controversial topic. Even the definition is a controversial topic because there is no one agreed upon definition as such. The main difficulty in studying the romantics, according to him, is the lack of any single real entity or type of entity that the concept of romanticism designates. So what is the main difficulty in studying romantic aesthetics? It is difficult to define what is romanticism. There is no one single concept or idea that can be associated with romanticism. Romanticism is a very vague idea. There is nothing that it concretely corresponds to. So if there is no idea that it actually denotes or strongly corresponds to, how do you even define it? If you can't define it, how do you study it? Lovejoy concluded, the word romantic has come to mean so many things that by itself it means nothing. The biggest problem is that you can't define what romanticism is. The word romantic itself is a very vague word. It can mean different things in different contexts. So because the word has no real meaning, no tangible, concrete meaning, the term romanticism also has no concrete meaning. The study of romantic aesthetics becomes very difficult, because if you are studying something which is very vaguely defined, how do you go about studying it? So here the author is basically talking about the difficulty in understanding or studying romantic aesthetics, and the main difficulty is that romanticism is poorly defined and a vague idea. So it is hence difficult to study romantic aesthetics. Now let's take a look at the next paragraph.
The more specific task of characterizing romantic aesthetics adds to these difficulties an air of paradox. Conventionally, aesthetics refers to the theory concerning beauty and art, or a branch of philosophy that studies these topics. Now, basically, not only is romanticism difficult, when you specifically say not just romanticism but romantic aesthetics, it actually becomes paradoxical. Why does it become paradoxical? Then he says that, okay, when you say aesthetics, it talks about beauty and art. You have to essentially restrict yourself to beauty and art whenever you speak of aesthetics as such. But let's take a look at why it becomes paradoxical. However, many of the romantics rejected the identification of aesthetics with a circumscribed domain of human life that is separated from the practical and theoretical domains of life. So they are saying that no, this is not, this idea that okay, you separate aesthetics from practical life is a bad idea. They are saying that aesthetics should be part of entire life. You can't say that this part is aesthetics, this part is normal life. So romantics said no to this idea as such. So when you say romantic aestheticism, romanticism is against aestheticism. So if you say romantic aesthetics, the idea becomes like a onomatopoeia. Both are paradoxical in nature. Romanticism says that beauty and art should be part of all life. Aestheticism says no, this is this part of life, this is practical part of life, they are two different part of life. So then because when you say okay, subsection of romanticism, I want to study romantic aesthetics, it becomes paradoxical in nature. The most characteristic romantic commitment is to the idea that the character of art and beauty and of our engagement with them should shape all aspects of human life. So one of the most important characteristics of romanticism is that art and beauty should be part of all life. It should not be part of just aesthetics. So when you say aesthetics, basically you say that okay, painting should be beautiful, or like works of art should be beautiful. All of these, when you say aesthetically, it should be, when you say okay, aesthetics should be limited to this, and aesthetically this, it refers to only beauty and art, the romantics actually disagree with it. They feel that every part of life should be should have beauty and art. So if you're making a car, it should have beauty and art. If you make a even like a simple pillar, it should have beauty and art. They believe that everything in life should be suffused with beauty and art. It is not a separate part of life, and it is like characteristic of romanticism. It's not just one idea, it is one of the defining characteristics of romanticism, that you put beauty, art, aesthetics at the core of everything. You don't separate it from normal life as such. Being fundamental to human existence, beauty and art should be a central ingredient not only in philosophical or artistic life, but also in the lives of ordinary men and women. So this is what they believe in, that it is central to your life. When you have ordinary men and women, they should actually believe or aspire for aesthetics. They should aspire for beauty and art. It's not as if only like certain people should pursue beauty and art. Everybody, ordinary people should have beauty and art in their lives as such. So it is a core belief of romanticism. So how do you have romantic aesthetics where you actually separate aestheticism from ordinary life as such? Another challenge for any attempt. So this basic idea, this is one idea. Okay, this is another challenge and another idea. So let me actually write down the main point of this part as such. So the second difficulty he is mentioning is that the second difficulty is aestheticism believes in separation of beauty and art from ordinary life. Aestheticism is essentially defined as only looking at beauty and art, but romanticism believes that beauty and art should be part of everything. So this aestheticism, when you say aestheticism, you are essentially separating beauty and art from ordinary life, but romanticism believes it should be essential part of all life as such, believes beauty and art central to all life. So what is the problem from that? The fact that these two have opposite ideas about the role of beauty in life as such, there is an inherent paradox. When you say romantic aestheticism, there is a paradox. Romanticism believes one core tenet is that beauty and art should be everywhere, and aestheticism, when you say romantic aestheticism, you are saying that okay, this separate part I am going to study separately. So there is an inherent paradox in this idea, which is the second main difficulty in understanding romantic aesthetics. First is like difficulty in defining romanticism. Second difficulty is that okay, romanticism and aesthetics is inherently paradoxical in nature, inherently opposing in nature. There's an idea which is there in aestheticism which is clearly opposite of the central idea of romanticism as such. Another challenge for any attempt to, so this will be the third difficulty. Another challenge for any attempt to characterize romantic aesthetic lies in the fact that most of the romantics are poets and artists whose views of art and beauty are, for the most part, to be found not in developed theoretical accounts, but in fragments, aphorisms, and poems, which are often more elusive and suggestive than conclusive. So, what is the author saying over here? See, when somebody is actually talking about a concept, you want them to write a proper book about it, like write a theoretical account, write a nice essay. Then when you write an essay, I will understand it clearly, right? But here the most romantic aesthetics were not like writers, or they were not philosophers, or they were not philosophical writers as such. So there are no theoretical accounts. What are there? There are poems, there are aphorisms, there are fragments, like some poetic prose is written somewhere. So there is no proper theoretical account saying, okay, this is my idea, this is what romantic aesthetic stands for, this is what we believe in, this, nothing of that sort is there. There are just poems. Now the issue with poems is that poems don't completely spell out what they actually believe in. They just suggest it. So a lot is left to the imagination of the reader. So because a lot is left to the imagination of the reader, there is no clear account of what romantic aesthetic stands for. So basically, if you have one idea, okay, you have an idea, if you write an account of it, if you write an essay on it, the reader will know exactly what you mean. If you write a poem on it, the reader will have to like guess what you mean at it. And this is the third difficulty. No theoretical account. Poets and artists who write in aphorisms and poems and aphorisms. So basically no clear account of what romantic aesthetics is. Okay, so now that we understand the three main difficulties in like studying romantic aesthetics, let's take a look at the next part as such. Nevertheless, in spite of these challenges, the task of characterizing romantic aesthetics is neither impossible nor undesirable, as numerous thinkers responding to Lovejoy's radical skepticism have noted. So basically the author is saying that, okay, there are three challenges, there are three difficulties, but it is not impossible to actually define and study romantic aesthetics. The author says that it is not impossible. He says undesirable, neither impossible nor undesirable. So what is undesirable over here? The author says that undesirable basically means that doing so would actually harm the subject, or doing so would actually be detrimental. So the author says that doing so or studying romantic aesthetics would not be detrimental. So the author says that it is neither impossible nor undesirable to study romantic aestheticism, and many people have actually told Lovejoy that. Lovejoy was skeptical about studying romanticism and studying romantic aestheticism, but many people have actually written that no, Lovejoy is wrong in this particular account. It is possible to define romantic aestheticism. It is possible to study romantic aestheticism as such. So not impossible or undesirable, possible and good to study romantic aestheticism as told by other authors. Okay. Now let's take a look at the next particular have noted. While warning against a reductive definition of romanticism, Berlin, for example, still heralded the need for a general characterization. So he said that you should not have a reductive definition. Reductive basically means you shouldn't oversimplify it. Oh, romanticism is basically having a rosy picture of everything. That is a very oversimplified idea of what romanticism is. So you should not have a reductive definition, but you should still have a general characterization of what romanticism is. You should have some definition. Now romanticism cannot be accurately defined, but it can be defined in general terms of what you mean by romanticism. So Berlin said that it is we can give a general characterization of what romanticism is as such. So although one does not have certain sympathy with Lovejoy's despair, he is in this instance mistaken. There was a romantic movement and it is important to discover what it is. So Berlin says that, okay, I understand why Lovejoy is despairing. I understand his, like when he highlights the difficulties in like saying what is romanticism, I understand his reason for like being so sad about it or being so despondent about it. But Berlin says that no, there was a romantic movement. There was clearly romanticism. Many people actually contributed to the movement. So if it was there, it is possible to define it. So the essentially a lot of people are essentially saying, so Lovejoy was saying that it is impossible to define it. People are saying that you should not have a reductive definition, but it is still possible to have a definition of romanticism, to identify what is the romantic movement and to give a general characteristic of it. So many other authors do not agree with Lovejoy and say that it is possible to define romanticism and romantic aesthetics movement as such. So possible and good to this. Other authors disagree with Lovejoy. Now let's take a look at the next paragraph. Recent attempts to characterize romanticism and to stress its contemporary relevance follow this path. Instead of overlooking the undeniable differences between the variety of romanticisms of different nations that Lovejoy had stressed, such studies attempt to characterize romanticism not in terms of a single definition, a specific time or a specific place, but in terms of particular philosophical questions and concerns. So basically, many of the guys, recent attempts who have, many of the people who have tried to study romantic aesthetics in recent times have said that it is possible and we can give general characteristics of this particular movement. And they have not tried to generalize it by a specific time, saying, okay, at this time in this period, romanticism was like this, and in this time, romanticism was like that. Nor are they trying to say that, okay, in this particular nation, this is like this, or it's not like, it is not defined by time or place, or there's no single definition of romanticism. But what they define romanticism is by the philosophical questions that it tried to raise, or philosophical concerns it had. So consider it in this way. It's difficult to understand, but essentially, so romanticism basically says that, okay, it's a movement. Okay, how do you define this movement? So instead of saying that it occurred from 1700s to 1805, not like that. You don't define it by time, not defined by time or place. You don't say that it occurred in Western Europe between this period to this period. Not defined by time or place, or even like the nations, or by single definition. So there is no concrete concept also that romanticism is defined by. So all of this is not how you actually define romanticism. How you define romanticism? You define it by the questions it try to answer. So basically say that if romanticism, I don't know what exactly romanticism actually tries to answer, but let's say that romanticism tried to answer how to look at life, how to infuse beauty and art in all aspects of life. So, suppose that is one of the concern of romanticism. So you are not really saying that what is the romantic movement, you are not giving a concrete idea saying that this is the romantic movement. So you just say that romantic movement was a movement which tried to answer XYZ questions. So that is a very broad definition, but it is still a general definition. It's not that there is no definition. There is a definition, but it is not in your usual terms. When you say there was a Renaissance movement, you had Renaissance in this period, in this time, in this place. Renaissance was from this AD to this AD, and in Italy, you could give like place, time, etc. Now this movement is not that clearly well defined. It doesn't have a clear time definition, a place definition, or even a conceptual definition as such. But you can define this movement by the type of questions they try to answer as such. So instead of saying, okay, this is the CAT exam which is taking place in every year in November, you say that, okay, CAT exam is like trying to answer questions of this type where VARC questions are asked, quant questions are asked. So essentially you are not defining the movement by essential characteristics, but you are defining the movement by the type of questions they try to answer. Okay. While German, British and French romantics are all considered, the central protagonists in the the central protagonists in the following are the German romantics. Two reasons explain this focus. First, because it has paved the way for other romanticisms. German romanticism has pride of place among the different national romanticisms. Second, the aesthetic outlook that was developed in Germany roughly between 1796 and 1801 to 1802, the period that corresponds to the heyday of what is known as early romanticism, offers the most philosophical expression of romanticism, since it is grounded primarily in the epistemological, metaphysical, ethical and political concerns that the German romantics discerned in the aftermath of the Kant philosophy. Now basically this romantic movement that we have identified that we want to study, it has different nations. Okay, there is German, British and French romantics as such, and all are considered, but special focus is given to German romantics. Why special focus is given to one nation as such? Why is it given to German romantics? Firstly, because they paved the way for others. So because they were like the pioneers, they were the path breakers, they were the at the vanguard of the movement. So that is why they are studied more. So they paved the way. And the second reason is that when you have the peak of romanticism, which is the early romanticism, this is mostly grounded in the issues that were there that were discussed in Germany in the aftermath of Kant's philosophy. So basically, if you consider, okay, what are the issues, where did they rise from? So issues of early romanticism mostly arose from the social social conditions of Germany as such. So because of that, when you try to understand why the romantic movement is the way it is, you will understand it because if you understand the social conditions where those concerns arose, and the social conditions where those concerns arose was in Germany. So that's why when you are studying the romanticism movement, you consider all the different romantics, the British romantics, the French romantics, but special consideration is given to the German romantics because firstly, they were at the vanguard of the movement. They were the ones who paved the way. And secondly, the issues that were discussed, the philosophical concerns, questions, where did those come from? Those came from basically in the context of the German, this as such. The German social conditions gave the context for the issues and the philosophical considerations of romanticism. So that is why it is given a special focus. Now this is a very long RC and difficult to understand. A lot of things are given. So this is essentially an explanatory RC. The main point that the author is trying to make is that a lot of people felt that it is difficult to study romantic aesthetics. Three reasons are given. But still it is possible, difficult but possible to study romantic aesthetics. Then the author says, how is romantic aestheticism actually defined? It is not defined by place, time, anything. It is actually defined by the considerations or concerns that arose during the moment. Now, once you have said, okay, this is romanticism, this is how I define it, now who are you going to study? So the author says that when you define it this way, there will be a lot of romantics and a lot of romanticism period would be covered. But special focus is given to German romanticism because of these two reasons. So he is essentially saying that it is possible to study romantic aestheticism. This is how you define it. And once you have defined it, you give special focus to German romanticism. So now that we understand what the entire passage is about, let's take a look at the questions. The main difficulty in studying romanticism is the elusive and suggestive nature of romantic aesthetics. It is not elusive and suggestive nature of romantic aesthetics. This elusive and suggestive nature is of poems. Now, because you have written all of your romantic aestheticism in poems, then it is difficult to study. The romantic aesthetics is not elusive and suggestive. Poems are elusive and suggestive because poems are written in metaphors. Poems are written in veiled language. Poems are not direct, no. So because poems are not direct, they are elusive and suggestive in nature, and because they are elusive and suggestive in nature, you can't study romantic aestheticism properly. But romantic aestheticism is not elusive and suggestive. So they have distorted two things by taking something which was a characteristic of something else and putting it on something else as such. So A is a distortion. Lack of clear conceptual contours of the domain. This is the main difficulty. You look at it over here. The Lovejoy clearly says the main difficulty in studying the main difficulty in studying the romantics according to him is the lack of any single real entity or type of entity that the concept of romanticism designates. So romanticism is not connected to any concrete idea that you can say that yes, this is romanticism. So because of that, it is difficult to study romantic aesthetics. This is the clear answer as such. They are saying very clearly that the concept has no clear idea. There is no clear contours, basically means boundary. So there is no clear boundary to define that this is the concept and this concept over here refers to romanticism, and that's why it is difficult to study it because there is no clear concept. What is romanticism is very vaguely defined. So B is the correct answer. Controversial and scandalous history of romantic literature. So romantic literature is not controversial, it is not scandalous. So it's not as if some scandal occurred where people behaved very badly. That's not what happened. When Lovejoy says the scandal of literary history and criticism, he is basically saying that it is hotly debated, it is controversial, but not controversial for what we consider salacious or controversial. It is controversial because people are not able to arrive at a single definition. When people disagree, there is controversy. So this is an exaggeration, and that exaggeration has been reworded and put here out of context as such. So C is incorrect. Absence of written accounts by romantic poets and artists. This is true. This is one of the difficulties in studying romanticism, but this is the third difficulty. The absence of, it's not written accounts, it's the absence of theoretical accounts But this absence of theoretical accounts by romantic poets and artists is a difficulty, but it's the third difficulty. So there is a slight distortion, and this is not the main difficulty. This is the third difficulty given. First difficulty is the idea is not properly defined. Second difficulty is aestheticism and romanticism are at odds with each other. The third difficulty is that there are no theoretical accounts. So it's not written accounts, it's theoretical accounts. Poems are also written down, but poems are not like essays. The author says that you need essays to study a topic, and that is missing. So second question is, according to romantics, aesthetics should be confined to a specific domain separate from the practical and theoretical aspects of life. This is completely wrong. They believe the opposite of that. They believe that it should be part of everything. It should be central ingredient of life, part of not just the life of artists and like those who are involved in these kind of things, but life of ordinary men and women. Beauty and aesthetics, beauty and art should be part of everybody's life, everywhere. That is what they that is one of the central beliefs of romantics as such. So A is the opposite of what they believe. Is primarily the concern of philosophers and artists rather than ordinary people? No, they believe that it should be a concern of everybody. So B is also clearly opposite of what they believe in. Is widely considered to be irrelevant to human existence? No, they say it is the central ingredient of human existence, central ingredient of human life. So clearly opposite. Like, it is so easy to actually answer this because it is like three options are opposite of what the author has mentioned in the passage. Permeates all aspects of human life, philosophical and mundane. This is very easy to answer and you should have been able to answer it. It is a direct answer from the passage, and A, B, C are clearly wrong. They are opposite of what the author has actually said. So D is the right answer. Which one of the following statements is not supported by the passage? Characterizing romantic aesthetics is both possible and desirable despite the challenges involved. This he specifically says that it is possible, it is desirable, it is something that we should do. And though there are three difficulties that are mentioned, it is still possible and desirable, and this is something that we should do. This the author has specifically said in the second paragraph. So, not second paragraph, third paragraph. Nevertheless, it is actually neither impossible nor undesirable. So this he has specifically said, so we can eliminate option A. Recent studies on romanticism seek to refute the differences between national romanticisms. No, they don't seek to refute the differences. Recent studies on romanticism accept that there are differences. They consider all different types of romanticism and they focus specifically on German romanticism. It's not that they seek to refute differences between national romanticism. Recent studies on this basically characterize not by place or time, they characterize by the philosophical questions raised. So it's not that, okay, I will say that there are no differences between German romanticism and French romanticism. There are differences. They are not trying to refute the differences. This is not true at all. So B would be the right answer. Romantic aesthetics are primarily expressed through fragments, aphorisms and poems. This is the third difficulty that is mentioned, that they are not in developed theoretical theoretical accounts, but in fragments, aphorisms and poems, and this is causing the third difficulty. So this is mentioned. Many romantics rejected the idea of aesthetics as a domain separate from other aspects of life. A very clear second idea, it is very clearly mentioned. So D is also correct. B is the right answer. Recent studies have not tried to say that there is no difference between national romanticism. They have essentially tried to not define romanticism according to national lines, but they have tried to define romanticism according to the question raised. So B is the right answer. So the fourth question is, according to the passage, recent studies on romanticism avoid a single definition, a specific time or a specific place because. So you look at the paragraph which is involved. Over here the author is saying, instead of recent attempts to characterize romanticism and to stress its contemporary relevance, follow this path. Instead of overlooking the undeniable differences between a variety of romanticisms and the different nations that Lovejoy had stressed, such studies attempt to characterize romanticism not in terms of a single definition, a specific time or a specific place, but in terms of particular philosophical questions or this. So they don't define it in terms of single definition or specific time or place, because they would rather define it in terms of the philosophical questions raised. Why would you define it in terms of philosophical questions raised rather than the specific time period as such? Because it is easier to define that way. So that is why they are doing it by questions raised rather than by the place time, because when you try to define by time, place, etc., you find that it is difficult to define the idea of romanticism. So you'd rather define it by the philosophical questions raised or the concerns raised. So let's take a look at the options. Understand that a variety of romanticism renders a general analysis impossible. This is an exaggeration. General analysis is impossible. It is difficult. It was simpler if you go by the way of questions, but it is not impossible if you go by the way of the different romanticisms that are involved. So because this is an exaggeration, A can be eliminated. Prefer to highlight the paradox of romantic aesthetics as a concept. They don't prefer to highlight the paradox. The paradox is a difficulty. They are trying to overcome the difficulty as such. They are not trying to highlight the difficulty that this is a paradox. So B is incorrect. Prefer to focus on the fundamental concerns of the romantics. This is the idea that instead of defining by space, place, time, etc., I would rather define it by the concerns raised because it is a more unifying definition. So this would be the right answer. Seek to discredit Lovejoy's skepticism regarding romanticism. They are not trying to discredit anyone. So even Berlin, when he says that, okay, I understand his despair, I understand Lovejoy's despair, but I disagree with him. He's not trying to discredit Lovejoy. They are not being like saying that Lovejoy is wrong or Lovejoy doesn't know what he's doing. He's not, discredit is a very strong negative word. They disagree with him, and the point is not that they want to disagree with him. The point is that they want to show that a definition of romanticism is possible. So D is clearly incorrect. C is the right answer. They are not against Lovejoy. The point is they are saying that, you know what, it is possible. I understand why Lovejoy is like feeling that this is so difficult to do. I understand the difficulties that he has pointed out are valid, but I still believe it is possible to do that. And they are not doing it to slight Lovejoy. They are trying to do it because they want to define this. Okay, so D is clearly incorrect. C is the right answer.
Want to know how 100% Tyler approaches the CAT exam? Now you can. Crackyo is giving away 3 full-length mocks designed by 5-time 100% Tyler, Maruti sir himself, to mirror the actual test. After you're finished, just don't look at your scores. Dive into our detailed video solution for every question to learn the expert strategy. Plus, get a deep performance analysis to pinpoint your exact weaknesses. Get your free mock right now. Go to Google and search Crackyo CAT free mock.